Hey everybody, welcome back. Psychic Eric here. Acid Archive time. Acid Archive Diaries, number 39, second edition here. And as we're rolling along with this thread, I've been trying to think of different LPs that are covered in the book that are not your typical or stuff that we've already covered. And I don't expect anyone to talk about this one anytime soon, let alone me. I didn't know I'd be returning back to this one because honestly, I was a little on the fence about this. It's one I don't play often, but every time I do, I'm kind of like, it's got that charm to it that I like, and the backstory is a little more interesting than, say, the music, I guess. There's a lot of backstory to this one, so I'll try to summarize it best I can. You'll come to find out in the book that there's a lot of stuff that isn't really first-rate psychedelic or even psychedelic at all. And this is kind of one of those cases where these folks, I don't even think are thinking that way, but they're coming from that post-psych, post-hippiedom, the whole nature of the college way of life, being drafted to Vietnam. I think a lot of these students involved in this record are kind of coming from that era, early 70s. And today we're talking about Hoi Polloi, self-titled. I think this is originally sort of replicated the way it was back in the day. It's a reissue here on Family Vineyard, Folk Evaluation. This is a 1972 release. Comes with a lot of liner notes. It's like a single page little insert here, small text, photographs. And I'll actually read some of this too, because I think there is some good information on here that, besides me just spitting it out, they actually have it written down, so I'm gonna reference this a little bit. If I had to tag like one genre onto this one, it's really hard to kind of pinpoint actually, other than just pop rock from early 70s. Even though there are stylistically a lot of diverse cultural aspects to this record, such as they go into some like jazz rhythmic kind of moves, while also being acoustic and lots of use of the piano. Not so much rocking aspects. I mean, there's not a whole lot of, there's definitely no acid fuzz breaks on here or anything, but it's a little more down to earth, college campus life, very clean, pristine kind of sound. But yet at the same time, while they're playing all that all that tightness, it's just the way it's recorded too is a bit raw and crude, and kind of reflects in the whole production in some ways. But they did the best of what they could with the budget. I guess all the recordings took place in this room called the Hancock Room, which is basically a large classroom that they all kind of set up for all these different sessions. And the sessions took place for about a week and a half, about 10 days. And supposedly 10-hour sessions, so a lot of rehearsal time, and it definitely shows on this record too. You can definitely hear it and get a sense of that. The college was Earlham College. This is like a liberal art college, small Quaker liberal arts college, attracting otherwise improbable visits from folks like Allen Ginsberg, Joni Mitchell, Martin Luther King Jr. around 1968. So definitely had a lot of people coming in and out of that college. So I'm going to read a little bit of this insert for you, just so you can get kind of a feel about what it's all about. They say it a lot better than I could. So it says, by the early 2000s, the Hoi Polloi LP's existence was just a rumor, an entry on a psych peddler Hans Pecora list 1001 record collector dreams. It's around that time that Will Ryerson discovered an original copy at a yard sale in Richmond. Will is the first person I ever heard use the collector term private press to describe the practical independent musicians bypassing the record label system to manufacture their own albums. Maybe because we were contrary college students drawn to more extreme private press artifacts such as Peter Grudson, Kenneth Hickney, and Jandik come to mind. Those are honestly some LPs that I kind of struggle with. I'm not a big Grudson fan. I know there's fans out there, but it's not for me, man. Hoi Polloi didn't make as deep as a first impression as it could have had the entire record sounded like the cinematic Faust tape-esque stretch of side 1 from Last Laugh through Satisfaction Guaranteed. I think I'll skip ahead a little bit here, but it says, most of what we know from its production comes from an interview conducted by Patrick Lomborg, editor of Acid Archives. He's a big advocate of this record too, which I think is why this has had a little bit of a resurrection. Patrick acquired Will's copy of Hoi Polloi in a trade and managed to track down Dan, Bruce, and John, some of the college students. Maybe I neglected to look carefully at the label at first because it wasn't until reading Patrick's interview that I put together that I already knew John as a longtime manager of Richmond's public access TV station, WCTV. I'll just kind of finish up here. The album became even more personally significant for our group of friends when we saw the photos of Hoi Polloi recording in the same spaces we lived, crowded into the Hancock Room at Earlham's Runyon Center, performing take after take to one Rovox tape machine and bouncing best takes to a second while performing the overdubs live. Imagining this painstaking process only serves to make the album's most intricate moments sound all the more unbelievable. That's from Jason Henn in 2012. Show a few of the photos here. And they have an interview conducted by all the members that had answers for their questions at the time, like where they recorded it, how they all formed. Hopefully those are coming in. Oops. Let's see. Yeah, that's the tape deck that they used. I think it was like I think there was like use of like 6 microphones that they had. So it was kind of limited, and you can see the space that they were in had all these blankets draped over chairs in the classroom there. So it does seem kind of like it was a kind of a cramped space and used for what they could on this recording. So this LP comes with a download, says the little man. I actually have 2 download codes in the LP too. I've never used, but yeah, I actually got this for $4 when I was visiting Chicago back in 22. $4. Man, if all reissues could be that price. It comes with another little insert here talking about the personnel, showing all the personnel there and all the different microphone equipment and tape processes here. Equalization and reverberation were added at Guilfoy Sound Studios reverb unit. 8-track recorder and then mixing back down to the 2-track stereo. So there was a lot of involvement on here, a lot of engineering, a lot of thought going into capturing the whole presence of their sound. And yet it's pretty simple. It's a pretty easy, kind of laid back nocturnal recording. Yeah, that's the best way I can describe this. It's very laid back. Just no rush to pump these songs out. And I don't know, like I said, the references are anything from like AM Gold to 70s AOR coming into the picture. Like the first track, what's it called? Kind of reminds me of like some solo Paul McCartney a little bit. Who's Gonna Help Me? But the big favorite from all the fans, including myself, I think it's one of the better tracks, Old Bootstrap, which I'll leave a little sample here in the beginning. Yeah, it's kind of moody. It's got this kind of desperation in the background instrumentally. And some good progressions. It's kind of like a progressive pop. Nice piano work, chord progressions. They're really kind of twisting between major and minor chords. It's definitely one that kind of sticks with you on this recording, most definitely. And then some of the tracks kind of run together a little bit. They do some tape manipulation speed effects, cutting tape together, dropping items on a piano and running it back half speed. So yeah, there ends up being like 7 tracks total, but some of them are a little shorter than others, and then they kind of bring in these little bluesy boogie moments. Yeah, Instead Boogie it's called. Ending on Satisfaction Guaranteed. I think it's like the longer cut concluding side one. It's like a 5-minute jazzy piano acoustic guitar piece. Not a big highlight for me. And then once you get to side 2, it gets even a little more late into the night kind of sounding. You can definitely tell they did a lot of practicing and wanted to make this really, kind of leave a lasting impression at the end. But I don't know, side 2 kind of feels like it's just not as strong as the first half for me. Really kicking off with some of the better tracks, and then it's just kind of like a little bit of a hodgepodge of smaller, moments, and again, kind of working with jazzy, folk rock, folk pop moves. Nothing that really sticks with you, but I will say though, the overall impression I get on here, it definitely warms up on you after a while. And I guess there are some like trombone and saxophone kind of buried, not buried, but like kind of hidden, very faintly in the mix, very subtle use of that. They're trying to go for sort of a sophisticated sound and not really thinking hippy dippy trippy sort of aspects like you would think they would, but nope, these are all fresh kids just trying to have a get together and just making their results kind of come to life. So yeah, I think they only did like 1 gig after that recording. They're basically a studio group and nothing more. It was just kind of a social gathering, and but it turns out that there was a lot of info dug up. Sometimes a lot of the trippy effects that you hear with the tape speeds were a little more like accidental happenings more than anything, with these sort of pinch wheels that they would use to get these like delayed feedback effects happening. Like I said, they're pretty sparse. I mean, there's just only moments of that happening on here. Otherwise, I think it's time to see what, I think it's Aaron Molinsky. Let's see. Yeah, AM. He says, well, read a little the info here. Richmond, Indiana, 1972, and it says Custom Fidelity, CFS. Must have came with an insert. I was not aware. Blank back cover and 500 pressed. It gets the 3 rarity. And he says, here's proof that great finds are still out there awaiting us. This is truly an excellent early 70s album from students at Earlham College. Collectors may miss out on records like this because they lack any heaviness or fuzz guitar. And then in quotations he says, though there are a few trippy sound effects here and there. But if you're looking for great songwriting, creative arrangements, reasonably complex chord progressions, and solid performances, this sure fits the bill. I agree. From home production done via bouncing tracks, it sounds remarkably self-assured and rich. The keyboard-based soft rock sound can most closely compared to Dialogue, but this album is significantly better. That Dialogue album, isn't that the one with the 2 guys on the front cover? It's like an orange cover, I think. It's been a long time since I've heard that one. Obvious and admittedly, influences are McCartney and low spark era Traffic with a bit of jazz and even flamenco thrown in obtrusely. Yeah, I think he did say that. I think someone in the interview said that Traffic and Procol Harum were a little bit of like some of their influences at this time. So that's kind of where the jazz bits come in. The occasional horn is used in a truly likable way. The album starts very strong, and the best song, the moody Old Bootstrap, comes early, but even the slightly lesser second side has plenty to offer. Band member Charlie Bleek later had a minor hit and cut a solo LP for Pickwick 1976. And then it says C Crucible, 1 St. Stephen. Oh, that's probably for something else. Yeah, so I basically 100% agree with what he's saying. It is a good LP overall, but you do want more out of this, I think. I think there's a lot to be offered here as far as just kind of your good songwriting aspects, really well played chord progressions, and just a lot of time spent, 2 weeks laying this down, printing out the blueprints of what songs they want to play and coming up with a track like Old Bootstrap. Like I say, it's not going to be for everybody. This is kind of one to warm up to. But as Dom says, we must cover all in the book. So anyways, that's kind of one that's kind of crossed my mind recently that I wanted to cover. And even though I feel like I kind of lacked a little bit of my input on this one, they just put it better for me. When it comes to just sort of those like pop rock elements, it's kind of hard to use a lot more adjectives to describe these sounds. It's almost kind of a dry slate of sound happening. So either way, it's definitely one to stream. I think it is on streaming. And I think the reissue is still cheap. I think you can still find it out there. Anyways, till then, I shall return with a lot of vinyl finds. I do have a lot to share. Just came back from a trip in Omaha, as well as stuff I received in the mail. Got some VCLT to share. And then some in town I picked up on as well. So it's looking good. With that said, take care, and we'll see you on the next one.